You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
Get
to transmission.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios from 11 a.m. to noon every Sunday, and I am your host, Angela Smarito. Before we jump into the show, I want to give a shout out to some of our show sponsors because without their support, we would not be here today. First off, Forge IT Consulting, providing a fully outsourced IT department with a personal touch for small business, and Osteopathic Health of Orlando. They offer integrative medicine and regenerative medicine and so much more. Visit osteopathic.healthcare. All right, now into the good stuff. I'd like to introduce Sterling Scott, owner of Trust Public Adjusting Group. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you.
I love whenever somebody's new in the studio because it's all brand new and they're like, okay, what's this? What's this? What's going to happen here? And I think that's great. So I really appreciate you being here today.
It's my pleasure.
Okay. So a little backstory with Sterling is that I don't know him, but I had the pleasure of producing two of the shows that he was a guest on with one of my clients, which is Richie Kidwell, and he has a show called Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, and that's where he brings in a lot of public adjusters, which is what Sterling's company is, as well as claims attorneys, contractors. It's that whole world of like I said, homeowners insurance and things like that. So my show is more about just local businesses. So, but I am very passionate about what you guys do because I listen to the show every week, and every time I leave, I'm like all fired up. I'm going, oh my gosh, we are getting so, messed up by our insurance companies.
Yeah, and I was invited on that particular radio show, podcast show, multiple times, and each time you were there. So it was good that you were interested in what we do, mainly as it protects the public from being taken advantage of by their insurance companies. Mm-hmm. And, it seems recently there's been a theme of like, oh, the insurance companies, there's so much fraud against them. The public should be really more aware of how much the fraud is against the public. Mm-hmm. And a public insurance adjuster is licensed by the state to help and protect and guide the public through the insurance claim process, whether it's residential properties or commercial properties. And insurance claims are complex. They're very complex with a lot of different moving parts. And, it's not as simple as, like let's say an automobile insurance claim, and you just take it in or pick the auto body shop you want. There's multiple layers of documentation, what the policy provides, contractors, mold issues, loss of use, business interruption. But
they don't tell you this when they're selling you the policy.
Exactly. They're like, yeah, if you have a problem, just call your
$500,000 worth of coverage. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, that's what public adjusters do is we help you guys.
Well, I think that's one thing that is interesting is that I don't believe that a lot of people even understand what a public adjuster does. And I know that prior to getting into this world of into this sort of thing, that I understood what public adjusters do, because a public adjuster, from what I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is somebody that you can go to before you decide to hire a lawyer. Is that correct?
Correct. There's really no wrong time to get a public adjuster involved. Even, excuse me, even if you're contemplating with filing a claim, or if you should or shouldn't, you should most likely contact your public adjuster. Considering they're on a contingency basis, they don't want to file a claim that they're not going to be successful on.
Sure.
But if you've already filed a claim and you're not happy with what's going on, then yes, you should also contact a public adjuster. If you need an attorney, that's down the line, right? So a public adjuster should prepare the claim and try to close it in all the, avenues or different ways that you can close a claim. But if you've exhausted every way, then the last, step is basically an attorney.
Right.
But a public adjuster, a good one, should have relationships with a number of attorneys and kind of know which ones specialize in what.
Sure.
So, if you want to try to fight a claim on your own without a public adjuster and then hire an attorney, it's like an attorney can still guide you to the right attorney on what that attorney specializes in for that particular claim.
Well, let's walk through a scenario. So, we can just use my house. So, storm comes through, I get hail damage. I don't want to file a claim because I know enough to know that I probably will say the wrong things and get me automatically denied. So I call you. What would we do then?
Yeah, that's also something that's important is a lot of people, even right off the bat, it's like, oh, I'll just call my insurance and let them know. But even little intricacies of the type of words that you use.
I know, it's frightening.
Exactly. So you could say something like, oh, my toilet's leaking. Well, that could be subject to a complete denial, whereas you could say, oh, my toilet broke or malfunctioned. So, I mean, that's a very limited scope.
I know you don't say the word flood. That is like the worst word you can say to an insurance company is flood. Right.
So it's like just right off rip, calling the insurance company, it's all recorded. So, but yeah, in your scenario, a hailstorm comes through and you're like, okay, I'm gonna call my insurance company and file a claim. You could get a public adjuster involved right away.
Right.
But I would say the most important thing that a property owner should do is just take photos and videos immediately. I mean, your first inclination is to clean the house or the property, whether it's, a restaurant or whatever it may be. But, taking all the photos, showing how dirty it is, the exterior walls, the debris.
But I'm not trained to see hail damage on roofs.
Yeah, and you're not going to get on your roof, correct. So, I mean, depending on how bad the storm is. But yeah, that's another thing. You don't really want to be crawling all over your roof, especially if it's a 2-story home or, even if it's a massive commercial project. So, yeah, it's like, getting a public adjuster out there to say, yeah, I do see hailstorm, damage and impact marks and things that can be associated with filing a claim and justify it is like, that's better than, going straight to your insurance company and saying, hey, I think I have something. Mm-hmm. So, really.
So would I be able to, if a hailstorm came through, would I be able to call your firm? You'd have somebody come out and assess the house, and is there a charge for that?
Thank you for asking. Free consultation. So we do free policy review and free property inspections.
Wow.
So even if it's weeks or months after a storm, you can still call us out and say, hey, well, I got a couple neighbors that got new roofs because of that storm. I wonder what the condition of mine is, but I don't want to go to my insurance company yet. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should call Trust Public Adjusting Group, free property inspections and policy reviews.
Mm-hmm. You see, so to me, this is just such a no-brainer, but honestly, like I said, if I walked to my neighbor right now and I asked him, he wouldn't know. He wouldn't. And the guy next to him wouldn't know. And the guy next to him wouldn't know. So it's like, I want to help scream on the top of my lungs what the right thing to do is before you call your insurance companies. Because like Richie says, you're not in good hands. Sorry. I'm not trying to steal your wording there, but it's just not. You're not.
I know it's a double-edged sword. It's hard to become a public adjuster and break into the public adjusting industry. There's strict rules about our advertising, when we can advertise.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Like we have to have like a certain font, it's the size, and it's like this big paragraph and
and do you have to apply your commercial or submit your commercials for approval?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Attorneys do.
Yeah, I don't think so. I've never done a TV commercial.
Right.
But to me, it's like you should let the public aware that there's a licensed professional by the state to help them.
Well, we're going to do everything that we can possibly do to make that happen. Because like I said, we're going to get the word out here on this show. We're going to make a whole lot of content reels, and we're going to do a whole lot of screaming and shouting and maybe get some more people to understand you have somebody on your side. So that music means we're going to go to break. I know it goes fast, but when we get back, we'll have more BaaD Radio, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the show, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Body Street of Winter Park. Experience EMS Fitness Studio, where it only takes 20 minutes a week to get a full body workout. Visit bodystreet.us/winterpark for your free trial.
We want to pump you up.
I almost started talking over the top of that. Do you guys remember old Saturday Night Live, Hans and Franz from back in the day? No? Not okay. Anyway, so Body Street's owned by a German gentleman named Stefan, and we had him in here, and we had him do that over and over again. It's from old Saturday Night Live flick, so it was great. Okay, so today we're here with Sterling Scott, owner of Trust Public Adjusting Group, and we had gotten really kind of deep into a conversation about a what if, I would call it, and that's, kind of like what would happen in this situation. So from what you were telling me is like, they always say something happens to your house, call the insurance company. Are you saying don't call the insurance company, or are you saying call us first?
Yeah, well, once you notice the damage to your house, you're obligated to report it per your policy in a certain amount of days. Typically, it's about 14 days. So I don't want to say don't call your insurance companies, but I think that, it's worth calling Trust Public Adjusting Group because we offer free property inspections and policy reviews.
So I could call you, you would look over my policy, then you would look at the house on the damage, and then you would kind of, I'm not going to say script me, but give me an idea of the right things to say to my insurance company, because I think the data loss is the biggest thing. Is they try to prove that the data loss doesn't match when a storm was there or something, right?
Yeah, well, if the policy is written a certain way and depending on what has caused the damage, we may say, hey, look, you shouldn't file the claim. Don't even let your insurance company know about it. It's not covered. But if there is a coverage, in the policy permits what we think is a good claim to file, we can help you through the whole process. But yes, getting the dates of loss correct for, there's dates of loss versus the date of discovery. That's really important for really any claim. That's outside of like a massive storm, like a hurricane or something like a tornado. Mm-hmm. Regular hail and windstorms happen often, and pinning down the correct date that show and can be backed up by the wind speeds and the meteorologist is important. Because if I had a client that called the insurance company on the date of discovery, because they discovered the water intrusion from a storm that happened, months ago.
Right.
And the insurance company let the date of discovery ride as the date of loss. Ultimately, that client didn't come to me soon enough because he fell outside of the statutory time frame. So the insurance company knew better. They knew that the date of loss is different from the date of discovery. And they used the day he called him when they knew he was trying to file a wind claim. But when it came down to fighting the claim, there was like, oh, there's no wind on this day. You see? So the insurance company's like, well, you called us and said it was this date. How does the homeowner know that that's what they were asking for? They should have been like, okay, they should have done their research, meaning the insurance company should have done their research to know that, the storm was X amount of days or weeks prior.
They knew what they were doing.
Exactly. So I can't tell you how many times we would take a storm claim that wasn't a hurricane or anything like that, and we would do our own research and hire experts to figure out what's the best date of loss that would create a storm-created opening to cause all the interior damages.
Do they fight back on the date?
Sometimes they'll even go as far as to say you have to file a whole new claim and start, from square one.
Oh, no.
But it's like, we're claiming the same damages. All we have to do is change the date of discovery from the date of loss. So there's no point in, sending out another adjuster, getting another claim number. That's just going to delay the claim another, 4-6 weeks. We can just change the date of loss that, quite frankly, insurance company, you should have done anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
And does that work?
It does work.
Okay. I don't know if they're flexible at all.
Well, the best thing about being a public adjuster is the insurance company is so used to being this authoritative figure. Mm-hmm. And like the homeowners or the property owners, because they could be commercial too, it's almost like they cower in fear. It's bizarre. They're scared of the insurance companies, and the insurance company's staff is so used to telling them what to expect, how to do it, what to do, including contractors and, independent adjusters. Whereas a public adjuster, we're not told what to do by the insurance company. It's like,
well, because you know what's right and wrong.
Right.
You're trained for that, but homeowners are not. And I said that is, I can't hold any specific group responsible for that, about the ignorance of homeowners when it comes to their home. I mean, you could blame each individual one, but none of us are going to read that insurance policy. I wouldn't even understand it if I read it.
Yeah, it's not, it's a big, 150-page document that has exclusions and everything else, but that's what we do. We'll decipher all that.
Nowadays, I might run that through chat and be like, okay, is this good or not good? I mean, tell me the good, the bad, and the ugly out of this.
Yeah, and we know certain things that you can ask for. So it's like, if we read your policy when you invite us over to do the free property inspection and policy review, and we look at your policy and we're like, all right, well, we would suggest adding this or adding that, and talk to your broker about how much it would cost. And we also have great relationships with brokers that sell policies that are all inclusive. So, that way you're prepared. Mm-hmm. So you get us out, we do the property inspection for free, we look at your policy for free, we'll give you advice, we let you know what's going on with your policy. And if there's something that we found, then it's like, okay, does this merit a claim? There you go.
Well, do you actually come out sometimes before a storm and like, okay, so say I just bought a home. Can I call you and you can be like, okay, well, I'll be like, Sterling, I trust you. What should I do next? And you could refer me to a person who sells insurance and go from there?
Yeah, I mean, if you just bought a home, typically they'll want, an insurance broker to get you an insurance policy to buy it. But yeah, if you don't like your broker or if you're shopping for insurance, you can give us a call. We've got a lot of brokers that talk to us because, sometimes the property owner will call their broker and be like, hey, I need help with this claim, but that's not really their role.
Yeah. I've had some bad brokers in the day where they just had no idea what was going on, and I'd be getting letters and it's like saying, you have not had coverage since this date. And I'm like, and so we're applying this coverage, from the mortgage company. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening here?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, the insurance brokers sometimes are tied to an annual bonus at the end of the year to see how little claims paid out.
Oh my. Which
is a little bizarre. It's like, I'm selling you this policy in case you have an emergency. But then the companies that are supplying the policies to sell will give me as a broker a bonus if people don't file claims, or if they're bigger claims, then it hits them, which doesn't really incline your agent to give out a public adjuster's card.
Right.
It's like, hey, I mean, some brokers do. They recognize it. They're like, okay, and we'll get a call every once in a while and be like, this person needs some help. But, for the most part, people go to their broker and they ask them for advice. But the broker isn't the carrier. They just know the product to sell. They don't enforce the policy. It's not their customer service. And people are a little confused about that. The broker just knows the policies and the different types of policies to sell. Mm-hmm. They're not there to enforce it.
But I bet you they're doing a happy dance once hurricane season's over and there's been no named storms that have hit Florida directly.
No kidding. No kidding.
So I don't blame them for that. But it's crazy, though. It's like so many businesses are rely heavily on the storms. But I thought that the last Lunch and Learn that you hosted was really good. But we're going to go to break again, and when we get back, we're going to pick up where we left off. All right?
Perfect.
Welcome back, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. Do you know what your sprinkler system did last night?
No.
Probably not. So now is a good time to get your irrigation system serviced by Ground Up Property Services today. And be sure to ask Rick Hall with Ground Up about a water sensor too, so your lawn doesn't get too much water. Call 407-468-4295 or visit groundupinc.net. Today we have Sterling Scott, owner of Trust Public Adjusting Group. And I mean, the thing is like when I know that we have a guest in and we're having a good conversation, the show flies by because we're already at like halfway point, and I feel like we haven't even like chipped the surface of everything that we can talk about. So as far as, okay, so why do you think it is that the Floridians as a whole aren't really aware of the asset of a public adjuster?
Well, the advertisement and the marketing side of it makes it difficult. The insurance companies, have these rules for us to abide by in terms of letting the public know about us. It's a double-edged sword. Like no one really knows about us, but it's kind of nice because there's not that many of us, So I would say it's very stringent on what we're allowed to do in terms of soliciting.
So if you were to want to run a radio commercial or a TV commercial, you would have to go by certain guidelines.
I know that when it comes to print and mail outs, any kind of advertisement, your name, there has to be disclaimers on it. But in terms of the radio and TV, not sure. I haven't done any television ads yet, and I don't think I've ever seen a public adjuster television
I've never.
ad.
That's why I've been media forever, and I've never seen or heard a public adjusting ad on except for on Salem, there is one public adjuster that runs ads on Richie's show.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some YouTube stuff, but I like to be a pioneer. So now that you're saying that, I've been in the industry for like over a decade, and I've never done a TV ad. So maybe that's something I'm going to have to remedy.
Well, like I said, I can help you with that too, just so you know, and television, and I meant we can do television, radio. You don't have to just stick to social. I mean, you can go way outside of the box for stuff like that. It's a good thing. And then, like I said, people think that radio is a dead medium, but I meant I think it's like 93% of all Americans still listen to the radio, whether they realize it or not. Radio advertising works.
Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I actually have done some radio advertisement when like local things are happening out in Daytona area, like Daytona Beach, Port Orange.
Like one of the smaller channels or something?
Yeah. I think, I don't know if my company tracked if we were able to track the radio.
ROI on it.
Exactly.
That is like when it comes to certain things, that's what's so cool about digital is that you can literally see how many clicks you get. You can see with radio and television it's a little bit more challenging. But let's get back to the public adjusting part of it. Because my goal on having you on here is to be able to come away with some content that we can create, that we can really use and send out and try to hit as many people as possible through that. So let's talk a little bit about your company. So you said you're about 10 years old, or the company's 10 years old. What made you decide to open it up in the first place on your own?
Well, I kind of fell into public adjusting, honestly. I was doing some business consulting for some large developers up in the Panhandle, and I just kind of fell into it. And I helped grow a big public adjusting company in the Panhandle, but I didn't see eye to eye with the owner, so I decided to start my own. And there was a storm that hit over on the east coast of Florida, so that was Hurricane. I think it was Matthew. So Matthew, then Irma, and so I was spending a lot of time over here, so I just decided to open up my own company, and it flourished. I really went out of my way to show the public what I can do, and the contractors that were hiring me and taking all the stress off of the contractors to deal with the insurance company.
You said the contractors were hiring you?
Well, back then you can do an AOB, but ultimately I was always hired by the property owner.
All right.
But sometimes if a contractor back then, you could have an assignment of a benefit, so the contractor could then hire you as a PA. But I always made sure I got the property owner to sign, sometimes as well as the contractor if they were assigned to
the good
to the
old
property.
AOBs.
Yeah. So
Are you a fan or a foe of the AOB?
It's a double-edged sword, I guess. I really liked the aspect of getting professionals involved on an AOB, not necessarily the contractors, but like if you need engineering reports, like professional expert reports that the insurance companies are paying out of their pocket to figure out, and just by chance 99% of them don't work in the public's favor, but they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on those reports per claim. And the homeowner with the AOB, the limited AOB, it allowed the property owner to hire the experts and more or less put the bill on the insurance company.
Yeah, and as long as people, and that's the part, is if people were just fair and not corrupt, the AOBs were a beautiful thing. If you found a company that you could trust, and because like that's what I did when I needed to get a new roof. I found a roofing company and I signed an AOB with them, and I trusted them, and they did the right thing. They found they got on with the insurance company. They found that they tried to change the date of the damage, or you know what I mean. There was all sorts of stuff that was going on, and they got there when the State Farm engineer was there and walked the roof with them. They didn't let anything slide, and I got my roof, and I was happy. Yeah,
the assignment of benefits is the AOB, and there was a lot of positive attributes to the AOB, and I really like the fact that you can get your own expert reports to substantiate the damage. But also one thing that it allowed was for contractors to do the work at their risk. So, because now without the AOB, no contractor is going to do the work and put all the effort into it in hopes that they're going to get paid. But the AOB is like, okay, I'll go ahead and fix your house as long as I'm signed, the benefits of the claim. So then it allowed contractors to more or less take a risk of fixing the home in anticipation of knowing they were going to get paid by the insurance company.
There are some companies that are out there that will basically let contractors borrow the money at like a really high interest rate, kind of.
Correct.
I feel the shadiness in that.
Well, the shadiness and that's putting a lot of pressure on the contractors because now their profit margin is eaten up by the interest rate that's steep, and that's really a heavy burden to be putting on a contractor.
I wouldn't do it, but I know some of them have to pay their payroll, right?
Yeah, so the contractors, they love public adjusters too because they can focus on working and making the property owner satisfied, and the public adjuster just takes care of all of the insurance shenanigans, if you want to say. And we also aid in keeping the property owner happy.
Right.
So the contractor can take a seat back and focus on his company and getting more clients. And the public adjuster can focus on keeping the client happy and getting the insurance company's money.
Right. So where is the corruption at? Where is the corruption? And I know I'm asking this right before we're going to go to break, but I really want to know if people could just be good people, we wouldn't have this problem, right?
Yeah. That's such a loaded question.
Sorry. He's like, okay, I'm starting to sweat now.
No. Well, a little bit, but I want to watch what I say. But what I think is interesting is you have insurance companies that are going insolvent, and I'm going to use the quotation marks. But there's a mother company that ultimately owns it, and then that same company will open up another company, and then they just move it over.
They move the money over.
Yeah, and ironically, I can't say the name, but it was something like, that was like it moved over that way.
Because insurance companies can only show 5%, a 5% profit each year, right?
Yeah, they're not really going insolvent.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go to break. All right, sorry to put you on the spot like that.
No,
but anyway,
good.
We'll be right back with more BaaD Radio, so stay tuned. Welcome back, and this portion of the show is brought to you by Frogger's Grill and Bar. Looking for a place to go with friends or meet new ones? You're looking for Frogger's Grill and Bar, and with 4 great locations, there is bound to be one near you. And you don't want to miss out on Frogger's amazing menu where everything is fresh, never frozen. Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. Frogger's Grill and Bar, hopping with food and fun.
Yeah, boy!
I like that, last yeah, boy. So during the break, I was talking with Sterling, and I was like, what I really would like is, it's interesting when we get into these very intricate conversations because there's so much that you can learn, but we unfortunately only have an hour show. And so we'll definitely have you back on, and you know what I mean? And we'll be able to get like deeper and deeper into what homeowners can do to protect themselves. And I'm not saying all insurance companies are evil. I'm not saying people are evil in general, but when you put like big groups together and profit margins, people tend to forget about us individual homeowners. And so it's just a fact.
All right.
But what I want to talk about a little bit now is about your firm and what are the things that you offer and most importantly, how to get in touch with you. So let's talk about your business.
Yeah. Well, we service the whole state.
Okay.
I've got public adjusters all over the state.
Do you have individual offices or?
Our headquarters is in Daytona Beach Shores on A1A. And so there's like a core group of public adjusters that we meet every week at the headquarters. But I have other public adjusters that I've trained that work with me all over the state.
Very nice.
Every once in a while, they'll come up to our weekly meetings that we have every week. But for the most part, there's a group of about 8 of us that are really intense public adjusters with Trust Public Adjusting Group. But again, we service the whole state, mainly focusing on Central Florida.
Okay.
I don't know. So Orlando area, Daytona Beach, we've got Jacksonville and Cocoa Beach. We've got some people in Titusville. So basically just the middle of the state, Central Florida.
No, that makes sense. I mean, the coastal areas, without a doubt, are probably where you guys have to spend a lot of time.
Correct.
But I meant then also as you get together as groups, then you can kind of brainstorm on what, if there's no named storms, there's no, big thing to talk about, you guys can talk about what else can you help homeowners with, right?
Yeah. And, I've been lucky enough to have represented some professional athletes and major developers, plastic surgery centers and condominium buildings that were insured for $150 million. Now, just because I do those large losses like that, restaurants and shopping malls and you name it, I also, yesterday I was in probably a 900 square foot home with one of my public adjusters, and we've done double wides. There's no claim too small or too big for Trust Public Adjusting Group. It just doesn't exist. We don't, we don't turn our eyebrow at anything. We will go to any property. For instance, I had this trailer that I went to, and the water heater broke, and the insurance company wanted to offer I think it was $2,000. We ended up getting her $90,000.
Oh my gosh!
About 3 months later, so it doesn't matter to us. And the homeowners, the property owners, they don't know. I was at this one property, and the refrigerator line broke, and all of the baseboards were expanded and miscolored. And I was like, "Well, when did that happen?" And she's like, "Oh, it happened, a few months ago." And she still had the receipts. So we were able to get her all new floors, all baseboards, and she had no idea. All she thought in her head was that there was a couple linear feet of messed up baseboards. But we got her $60,000 for cabinetry and flooring. And it's that's what her policy owed her for. Mm-hmm. So that's why I want to be very clear that it's not just storms. Another client called us up for a little bit of mold that was in her garage. But when I did my thorough inspection, which, we discussed how we do free property inspections, I saw a huge crack on the outside of her house on the exterior in the stucco. And what we found was there was a leak in the roof and in the windows from a past tree hitting it. And we got her, again, almost $100,000. And
was that tree leaking causing the mold that was inside the house?
No, the mold was just a little bit of mold in her garage.
Oh.
So it was totally a separate situation. But I was like, did you know this? And I found out that there was actually water damage on the inside of her house in the living room.
Oh my gosh.
Under her carpet, and she had no idea. And so
I need to have you come out to my house and take a look around.
Exactly. So we were called out for some small mold, on spots, like barely spots. But I found this incredibly like bulging out stucco. But it was high. It was a 2-story house, so it was, it wasn't exactly obvious to the naked eye. But to my eye, I saw it immediately, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this could be a problem." And it was. And her policy permitted coverage, so we got her the appropriate amount of money.
I love stories like that. After Charlie, where are you from? Are you from Florida?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm actually born and raised in Malibu, California. And I'm like 5th generation born Southern California.
Right.
But, my mother's parents lived in Florida, and we would visit, go back and forth. But
did you live here in the early 2000s?
I moved to Florida around 2012, 2011.
Okay. Well, in the 2004, we had 3 huge storms come back to back to back, and I knew that because came right when my daughter was born. It was Charlie something, and we called it the blue tarp era because there was nothing but blue tarps everywhere, and our townhouse we had to get like the whole roof caved in on the baby's nursery. It was really
sorry to hear that.
I was devastated, but the inspector was trying to get me to climb up on the 2nd floor of the house to show me the damage. I'm like, like on my hands and knees, like I'm like scaling across this. I'm like, I can't do this. This is not for me. Do you get on the roof?
Yeah, we get on the roof. We've got drones too. I was actually on the roof yesterday on that small property I was telling you about, and I typically don't get on roofs too much. I personally focus more on the larger stuff, but given the fact that we've got 3 apprentices at this point, I try to go out and do some claims with them just so they have a wide variety of public adjusters that are training them. Get little inputs so that they themselves can become their own public adjuster and take pieces away from me or the other guys that I've trained, because each public adjuster at my company has their own little style.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'm looking over all of them like a helicopter, making sure they're all
is
doing
that
what
what your
they
idea is? You want to continue to scale?
Yeah. The company had a record year this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Especially with no-name storms. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know. I heard a lot of people that were, having issues, but we were bringing in claims and clients and contractors and making people happy. And more and more people were hearing about my company, wanting to get licensed with me. There was actually a waiting list to become a public adjuster apprentice because you're only allowed so many apprentices per firm. So as of now, there are more people wanting to work for the company than the company can be permitted legally.
Oh, wow. Well, like you said, major congratulations to you. But I guess a lot of it has to do with you make those weekly meetings. You're brainstorming with others and figuring out other ways that you can help homeowners and not just relying on Mother Nature to bring business to you.
Yeah, like that's very important for people. It's like we're not storm chasers. My company's not a storm chasing company. I didn't even necessarily want a storm to come through last time. I mean, especially with Hurricane Ian, which was 2022. There are enough broken pipes, mold claims, water heaters. Think of all the appliances in a house. I can't tell you how many claims I've had about cars in garages. So be careful out there.
Yeah.
Put it in reverse, not drive. And there's 100 different ways you can have a claim on a property,
right?
Residential, commercial, and no claim's too small for us. What you think might be small might be bigger. You don't know. So.
No. What that means is that's what makes you different. So we are down to our last minute, so go ahead and give everybody all of your contact information. I know it's crazy. It's so fast.
No, that's okay. Yes, my name is Sterling Scott with Trust Public Adjusting Group. Our website is www.trustpublicadjustinggroup.com. My email is sterling@tpagfl.com. That's an acronym for Trust Public Adjusting Group. My phone number is 386-456-6885. That's 386-456-6885. 6885.
Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And a huge thank you to all of our sponsors. And remember, everyone, this week to support local. Have a great week, everyone.